Sandy Munro has just given his first impression of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And I've observed two very interesting things. The first of those is he thinks it's a pretty good car. The second of those is people are very sensitive about Sandy Munro's opinions. Maybe those people who are so sensitive should stay off YouTube because they sound like they're getting their knickers in a big knot. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Electric Viking. My name is Sam Evans. Welcome to the channel, all you new subscribers. Great to have so many new subscribers on the channel. Welcome back to everyone else. Now, I've got to say a big shout out. First of all, Sandy Munro did shout out this channel on his channel, and I appreciate what he did. He's a great guy, and honestly, there is no one else on YouTube that you shouldn't respect more because no one else actually breaks these cars down and shows you detail by detail exactly what is in the car. No one does that. So I know there's a lot of people who criticize Sandy Munro, but I think those people are extremely sensitive people who just can't handle the fact that he likes Tesla vehicles. So really, that's probably more about you, if that's you, than it is about him. Anyway, what does he think of the Ioniq 5? Well, first of all, this wasn't actually a tear down. He hasn't torn the vehicle down yet, but I believe he will. But he hasn't actually torn it down piece by piece yet. So this is more like his initial impression. What would happen if you walked into a car rental agency, you picked up a car and then you went to drive it away? How would you look at it? What would you do? How intuitive is it all for you to use? So I think the review actually makes a lot of sense. Now, like I said, Sandy's impressions were overwhelmingly positive. And he shared some interesting info about the manufacturing and assembly of some of the elements of the car. Now, I'll put a link in the description below to his original video. One of the things Sandy Munro focuses on is efficiency and manufacturing. So when there's too many bolts, he thinks that those can be cut down in order to improve manufacturing line efficiency. But there's nothing that he really criticizes overly with this car. So that's not really a big point that he talks about. Now, he appears to like the Ioniq 5 from what I can see, although he did find some redundant physical buttons in the vehicle that he considers an opportunity for cost reduction and simplification. Now, this was an area where people seem to react to emotionally the most. There's all these arguments going on all over the place. Sandy Munro said there's redundant buttons. I don't agree with that. And really, people are getting so emotional about this very tiny thing that I think they really need to have a reality check here. So here, basically, the reality is in a vehicle, in my view, the safest way to operate your vehicle while driving is not to be pressing buttons. This is what the argument is about. Should we be pressing buttons or touching a touchscreen? No. On a vehicle, you should be able to actually press the scroll wheel on your vehicle or some buttons on the steering, and I'm talking about on the steering wheel here, to be operating it safely. In my view, that's the only way to operate your vehicle safely while you're driving. If you're pressing buttons on your dash while you're driving, then basically you're breaking the law. That's breaking the law in most countries around the world. So having physical buttons on your dashboard, it is redundant. Now, in my view, you should have voice control in your car. If the voice control doesn't work, then that is a definite design flaw in a vehicle. So basically, obviously, people are saying Tesla vehicles, he's praising Hyundai. He's not. That's not actually true. He praises the Hyundai pretty heavily. But he does say that the redundant buttons are something that could be improved. And I tend to agree. I mean, even in my old school car, using buttons is something I very rarely do, really need to do. I'm not really sure why you'd need to. But if you have voice control in your vehicle, then that to me is a key, what you should be using. Actually, I've used the Tesla Model 3. I don't own one, but I've used one. I've used the voice control. And it works extremely well, even with my Aussie accent. So I think that that's a good thing, right? Voice control works, and having scrolls on your steering wheel works, and it's not illegal to use. And I think it's not going to significantly distract you while you're driving, at least not too much, hopefully, anyway. Now, one of the responses to Sandy's video was from Mars Pilgrim, and Mars Pilgrim claims that Sandy likes to find companies that use too many of his hated screws. The reason for that is he believes that decreases efficiency in terms of manufacturing. Now, Mars Pilgrim claims that it's perfectly fine to simplify it if it helps reliability, but in his experience, any manufacturing savings go to profit and not to reduce price to the consumer. Well, I don't know what country you're from. Maybe it's correct where you are from. Maybe you're from, I don't know, some country where cars are very expensive. But I mean, if you're talking about a country, say, as in China, then no, that is 100% false. Usually in China, what they do is they reduce the price. Have a look at the car prices over there. Now, this is important, right? This is very important to point out because very soon, as is happening in Australia and a number of other countries, Chinese cars are basically going to be invading whatever country you're in. Pretty damn good chance that if they're not doing it already, you're going to get a big influx of Chinese cars coming in. And what are they going to do? Reduce prices of other cars because other car companies will have to compete with them. They will have no choice other than to reduce cars, unless maybe it's Porsche. You know, people pay a lot for Porsches and maybe Ferraris, those sort of high-end luxury cars. But if they're not high-end luxury cars, they'll have no choice but to reduce the price. So yes, inefficiencies in terms of manufacturing make an enormous difference. And that's Herbert, I'm sorry, but I mean, Mars Pilgrim, you're crazy, because the CEO of Volkswagen, Herbert Diess, has said that unless they improve efficiencies in their production line, they can't compete with Tesla in Germany or in Europe. So it's extremely important for companies to actually improve manufacturing efficiency. That said, this wasn't a vehicle teardown. So Sandy Munro wasn't really critical of the vehicle's build at all. In fact, I think he was praising it, and he thinks that there are some possibilities for some future development on this car. And interestingly enough, I just read an article today which shows that Hyundai is actually collaborating with a quantum computing company in the United States to improve the efficiency of the Ioniq 5 and potentially of the Kia EV6 as well, I imagine, seeing as they're kind of sister companies. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with Hyundai collaborating with a quantum computing company, because the primary goal here is for the quantum computing company to actually find the perfect settings for the battery to run at, the perfect temperature, the perfect efficiency, all those kinds of things. I think Hyundai are doing some excellent work on their EVs. Excellent work. The EV6, the Kia EV6 and the Ioniq 5 are just fantastic EVs. They really are premium cars. What will happen? Well, honestly, truth is, Hyundai only plans on making around less than 500,000 EVs in 2025. And they sold about 3 million cars, or 3.5 million cars. So they're planning on having, only about 15% of all the cars that they sell in 2025 being EV, full EV that is. That, in my view, is a recipe for disaster, because if you're looking at the sales numbers, if you've been watching my channel, you'll see that sales of electric cars in Europe are going crazy, absolutely mental. Sales of electric cars in China, absolutely ballistic. In other words, Hyundai's two biggest markets, well, they are shrinking dramatically. The reason being, Hyundai isn't making many EVs and doesn't plan on making many EVs, which is unfortunate considering they had this brilliant car here that Sandy has just said. It's a great car. People want this car. In Australia here, people are literally queuing up for the thing and they can't get them. So that is the challenge that Hyundai have right now, making enough to satisfy the market, because Hyundai actually doesn't think there's much of a market for electric cars. That's really, truly baffling to me. But you know what? I would love to own an Ioniq 5. I think Sandy, by what I'm seeing here, he thinks the car is extremely impressive. So if you got the chance to buy one, if you got the chance to cross-shop one of these against the Tesla Model Y, it's definitely worth doing so. They're both very, very good cars. So on that note, thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you had a choice, if you were going to go and buy an Ioniq 5 or a Tesla Model Y, which one would you choose and why? Let me know in the comment section below. Have a great day, and I'll see you again on the next video. Bye-bye.